Well, hello, ladies, and thank you for joining us again, this time at a different time frame to make it easier for Sue Donnelly being in the UK. We're absolutely delighted to have you, Sue. Thank you so much for your time, and we're so excited to hear all about fashion wellness using fashion Feng Shui. Yes, look, I would like to introduce Sue. She's absolutely amazing. I've actually met Sue many, many years ago at many of the AICI international conferences. We've always gotten together and we've always had a blast. She's a marvellous girl. Let me tell you about Sue. She's an AICI CIP, meaning a Certified Image Professional with the Association of Image Consultants International. She's an award-winning image professional and a previous holder of the AICI James Seegerston Award. So that's pretty amazing. Her mantras are: one size does not fit all, and life evolves and style evolves. So we're in for a good time. A little bit more about Sue. She's a past president and fellow and Masters Award assessor of the UK Image Industries governing body, the Federation of Image Consultants International. She's a founding member of Association of Stylists and Image Professionals, a certified image professional, a lead trainer, and the only master of fashion Feng Shui in the UK. Sue is a certified coach, a facilitator, and author of 6 books, regular style expert in magazines and on television, and I'm not surprised. She's a sought after speaker at conferences, presenting her unique slant on image related topics all over the world. We love you, Sue. So I'm going to let you just take over and give us the best. I know it will be.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm glad that most of you listening in live are probably out of lockdown now. We're not, hence the long hair and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm not actually feeling my best at the moment because I think I haven't had a haircut for 3.5 months or something like that. So there we go. Hopefully days will come soon when it gets a little bit back more to normal. I don't know. I wanted to talk to you today about wardrobe wellness, which is something that I'm really passionate about and seems to have come to the fore for me more since the pandemic. I think we've all been through the mill and back and learnt things about ourselves and other people that perhaps we didn't know before. And so I'm aiming today to give you some background. I'm also aiming today to give you some things that you can take away and use immediately. And for those of you who have already studied with me in Fashion Feng Shui, there will be some new stuff for you as well. So hopefully you're not just going to have a reiteration of what you already know. There'll be something new that you can share with your clients and also obviously use for yourself too. But just before I start, I just want to give you a very, very, very brief background about why Fashion Feng Shui is so important to me. I trained as an image professional in 2004 on a whim. I was a very highly paid corporate trainer in a job that I absolutely loathed. And on a whim, one day I decided I was going to be an image professional, gave my notice in, and then that was that. So I began with a company called Aston & Hayes that is no longer with us, and I absolutely loved it. However, about, I don't know, 6 to 7 months into that, when I was wearing the colours that are supposed to suit me and wearing the styles that were supposed to suit me, I felt a disconnect. So I was doing everything that I knew was right, but somehow it felt wrong. And so that really set me on a journey to travel the world, to find trainers who could give me something that I could really hang on to that said, well, you know what, this is the right way. I found lots of different trainers. I have trained with so many people and they've all given me something that has been really useful, things that I can add to my toolbox, if you like. But if I had to choose the one that changed my life, then it would be this one. And that's why I am more passionate probably about this than I am about anything else. When Ivana, our founder, died a few years ago, I was in Australia actually at the time, staying with Claire Maxfield. I had no idea that I would end up being the lead trainer, you know, the lead person, if you like, in this business, even though it's not my business. And in those intervening years, when I've trained it to so many people, taught it to so many people, I've realized that even though it looks quite simple, it's actually got a lot of depth to it. And the more you do it, it's like everything, the more you realize that this affects everything. So I don't know whether you're aware, but if I was to say to you, what do you think Feng Shui is? And we all know it's a very old practice. I'm pretty sure that most of you, if you've heard of it, would say, well, it's something about moving a plant around or adding some water so that I get the love of my life walking through the door, or the career of my dreams, or I become a millionaire just because I've changed a colour over there. And there is some truth in that, I guess. But what you probably don't realize is that Feng Shui actually originated as medicine. And today, if any of you ever have acupuncture with a traditional Chinese medicine person, TCM it's called, they will use Feng Shui without you knowing it on your body. So acupuncturists, acupressurists, if any of you do yin yoga, you may find that they talk about the 5 elements, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Because basically what Feng Shui was about was balancing and harmonizing the qi, or the energy, if you like, within your body. And so basically their premise is that when things are stuck, and often it's emotional stuckness, if they stick needles or pressure into the right meridians, then basically it will unblock whatever's blocked, and then your chi, your energy, your flow, the universe of life, whatever you want to call it, will flow freely, meaning that you are less likely to get disease. So emotion to them is energy in motion. Okay, energy in motion. And as you can see from this little picture here, all of our organs, which I see as a board of directors, if you like, and we need all of those board of directors on board, because if one of them goes off sick, it's very hard for the others to take over, because that's not their job. They all need to be really as healthy and as vibrant and as full of energy as we can possibly have them. And that's really what I'm going to talk about today, but via the wardrobe. So it's about making sure that instead of going to your acupuncturist, you're looking in the wardrobe instead. So fashion feng shui itself then is based on this, and I'm not going to go into a lot of this today because we just don't have the time. But basically the premise is that who you are at your very core is the pivotal point in this circle, this revolution, this evolution, whatever you want to call it. And so when we're doing consultations, the first thing we do, and we spend a lot of time doing this, is find out who you are elementally. After that, once you've found that, then everything else flows out of that. And we look here at flattering your appearance, of course. We look at functioning for your lifestyle, fostering relationships, and fortifying your intention, you know, what it is that you want in your life. And those 4 things will change as we grow. You know, we change our appearance. You can dye your hair, you know, you can have it all cut off. Your lifestyle definitely changes. And I guess a lot of people's lifestyles are in the middle of change now. The relationships definitely change. And I bet a lot of people in lockdown now are feeling very different about the people they live with to maybe how they were feeling a few months ago. And the intentional dressing, which is kind of what we're looking at today, is something that changes from a day-to-day basis. It's what you want in your life. So it might be a big thing, or it might be a small thing. It might be, I just want to feel calm today, or it might be, I want to make £1 million by the end of next year. So Ivana came up with this concept. She wasn't an image professional. She was an Emmy awarder with AICI. She was a boutique owner. She was also a feng shui master. So she had everything going for her, really. And she realized that this harmonious thing in your office and your home was missing out one crucial thing, and that was the most intimate part of our environment, which is basically our wardrobes. We carry our environment on our backs every single day when we leave the house. And so our consultations are really about these 5 things: fulfilling your essence, that's who you are at your very core. And even looking at the snapshots of all of us on here now, I know without doubt that every single one of us on here is different. And that's what it should be. And that's what I love about people, that we are all so different. And even though this looks as though you're putting people in a box, because there's 5 or 6 different things going on at any one time that can change, we're never boxed in. That's what I love about it. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to go with the whatever life brings for you. We obviously flatter your appearance. I think that goes without saying. That's what image consultants do. Function for your lifestyle, fortify you to attract your attention. That's what we're going to do today. And fostering your relationship. So that's really what Fashion Feng Shui is the premise of. So the 5 elements then are in everything. They're in us, and they're in the outdoors, and they're in the cosmos, they're in, you know, everything. And it's the thing that the Chinese believe links us all together. And they are water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. You don't need to know about them in great depth, but anybody that's ever studied Fashion Feng Shui will know them intimately, because they are a huge part of what we teach. And so just to give you some background, I'm just going to go into these 5 elements and just give you the different characteristics so that you can see where I'm leading up to, because I don't want to miss out an integral piece for those of you who need to know, but why? And that's me. So water then, we think of water, generally speaking, as something deep and dark. So yes, water, when you've got the sunshine on it, will look a bit of a turquoise color maybe, but generally speaking, without the sunlight, because it's so deep, it appears so dark. And of course, there are different depths. An ocean would be very deep, a puddle would be less so, a little bit more shallow. We think of water as asymmetrical in the fact that it has no straight lines. They say that every wave is unique, every wave is different. And as of course, you know, they are a wavy shape. So we see the shape of water as asymmetrical, and we see it as fluid. What that means is that it goes where it wants to go. So if I was to sit at a table with you all and had a big jug of water and I just kept pouring it onto the table, it doesn't know that there is an edge that it must stop at. Why would it bother? It goes where it wants to go. So if it wants to flow over the table, it'll damn well flow over the table. So it goes and fills in all of the gaps. It doesn't see that there are any boundaries at all. Out of all of the elements, this is the one that is the most sensitive, because it can take on other guises. So if I have a glass of water, clear water, and I pour some orange juice in it, it suddenly becomes orange. I could boil it, it becomes steam. I could freeze it, it becomes ice, and then the quality of it changes to a reflective quality. If we think about weather, it can be just mist, it can be rain, it can be a tumultuous storm or a gale, or it can be snow. So it changes its appearance as it wants to. It's a bit, I guess, unpredictable in that respect. So it's the most sensitive and the most unpredictable of all of the 5 elements. Just going back as well, in our country and in yours as well, we have seasons, and water is the wettest and the darkest season, so it will be winter. And we also have a time of day, which is also the darkest, and so that will be nighttime. So they're associated with times of the day, times of the year, as well as parts of the body. So that's water. Wood is very, very different. And as you can see from the descriptions up at the top, this is a dynamic energy. So we're no longer going with the flow. Now we are reaching for the sky. We are reaching for the sun. And as you can see from these trees and plants, it's straight upwards. There's no deviation. We know where we want to go, and we've got a path to get there. Wood is one of those really strong elements. And if you think about trees, you know, most of them are around for many, many years, regardless of what's thrown at them. You can have terrible storms and various other things happen, but most of them are still there. So it's a very strong kind of element. The colours that we associate with them are the mid-tones of blues and greens. So I'm thinking sky blue, leaf green, lime green, something along those lines. So it's not the dark colours that we might associate with the winter time, and it's not the light colours, which we will come on to later. It's a straight shape, so it's not wavy like water, it's straight up and down, and it's plant-based. In terms of the time of year, it's springtime. This is when, if you think about the old days before we had electricity, winter was a kind of hibernatory type season where we all went to sleep. You know, we kind of conserved our energy for the rest of the year. We had very little natural light because most of it was dark. And so you'd store all your food, you'd hunker down, and then springtime was when you were ready to take some action. So spring is a very action-oriented kind of season. And the time of day, of course, is the first part of the day, which is dawn. This is when we hopefully spring out of bed, ready for the day. I mean, some of us more than others, maybe. But that's the kind of energy that we're looking at. Some kind of vibrant, the sun is out, the colours are starting to come through, and we are raring to go. And there we are, look, these pesky little shoots, unstoppable. The granite's in the way, but I'm sorry, that's not going to stop me. I might be small, but I'm very powerful. And if I've got an action that I want to go and achieve, then I will get there. So very different from the sensitive water. The next one that we're looking at is fire. Now, fire you will always be aware of, either because you can feel the heat of a fire, or because you can see it. So, I mean, in a form like this, fireworks, lighting up the sky, I think even now we're older, we still get a thrill, I think, if you see some fireworks in the distance. You know, you stop and look out the window or in the street or wherever you are, because they are kind of magical. You know, you can't help but notice them. Obviously, they're quite loud as well, but it's just the beauty of lighting up the sky, even if it's only periodic. They don't last. But it's just a beautiful sight. And that's what fire is all about. It's about this kind of magnetic attraction, if you like. You can't help but notice fire. So the colours that we associate with fire tend to be the bright colours of bright reds, bright pinks, bright purples. Suzanne, by the way, hair. I'll come to you later. So bright reds, bright purples, bright oranges, you know, those colours that we can't miss. If you think about traffic lights and the red light, you know, it tells us we have to stop. So, you know, they are unmissable, and those are the colours that we associate with this. The shape is an angular shape, like a V shape. So, you know, a V or a diamond shape, that would fit into there. And we think of fire as either light-based or life-based. The time of year, of course, is the hottest time of the year. So this is high summer. In China, they have 2 summers. So this is the hottest time of the year. For me, it would be July. I guess for you, it's January. I have to turn my world upside down. But it's when it's really hot and the sun is at its peak. And of course, the time of day would be noon for the same reason. It's the hottest time of day. And what you tend to find with this kind of hot weather, whether it's in the day or the season, is that a lot of people get together. They either go on holiday, on vacation, or they leave their desks, hopefully, to go and have some lunch, maybe with their friends. So it's a kind of enjoyable time of year or day when there is a bit more enthusiasm and a bit more excitement going on, because they're not stuck to the routines. So there we are, magnetic and dramatic. Now for a completely different element, the earth. I always feel with this that it's the element that we take for granted. And yet, this pandemic has shown us that this is the one that is actually really important. The earth is our foundations. It's the ground. if you think about getting out of bed one day, swinging your legs out to put your feet on the floor and the floor was no longer there, think how frightening that would be. We take our pavements, our fields, our food, our roads, everything that we put our feet on, we take for granted. And really, I guess we shouldn't. The earth is our foundation. It's also our nurturer. It's where most of our food is grown. It's where most of our cattle will graze so that we get food from them, or milk or whatever from them as well. The colours are brown and yellow, so all of those kind of what I call camels, mustards, tan, those kind of colours. Again, not dark, not light. The shape is square, and we're looking at soil based. In terms of the time of day, it would be afternoon. And this is often the time when, if you've got kids, they'll be coming home from school. Maybe you stop homeschooling at this time, and you feed them some biscuits or milk or something. Or, you know, if you are a mom, you might be at the school gates having a chat with the other mothers. So it's a kind of community type of time, I guess. And the time of day would be, the time of year would be late summer, the time of the harvest festival for us. So for me, it would probably be late August going into September. For you, I'm not sure what that would be, February, March, maybe something like that. Okay. It's before we get to the autumn, but after the summer. So it's still hot, but it's not excessively so. So there we go. Comforting is like a big hug. That's what it is. It looks after us. Mother Earth, that's why we call it that, because it looks after us, often without any thanks. I think it's interesting, actually, because of the pandemic, we are looking at ethics of Mother Earth and the planet a lot more than perhaps we were in the past. So maybe it's coming to its own now. And then last but not least, we have metal. This is the polished one. As you can see from this photograph here, it's just so well curated. There's not anything out of place. It's all pale colours. There's no shouty bits here. It's all very, very refined, looks very good quality, very organised, very tidy. And as you would expect from something like that, the colours that we're looking at here are the colours that get dirty the quickest, really, the whites and pastels. The shape is a round shape, it's a smooth shape, and it's based on ore, so it's based on jewels. The time of year would be autumn, the time of day would be early evening, so it's finishing off the year before we go into the hibernatory winter and before we go to bed. So it is a finisher. It likes everything to be organised and completed. So it's elegant. And as you can see, hopefully from all of those very brief descriptions, each one of them has a very different feel, very different characteristics. So you might be thinking, well, what's that got to do with us? Well, in Fashion Feng Shui, we take those characteristics and we put them into 5 elemental personas. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this today because, again, people will look at this and go, oh, that's really easy. That's what I am. But actually, there's a lot more to it than this. So that's why I really don't want to go there. But basically, the characteristics that we've just been talking about with the main elements, we can put into people, into their values, into their behaviors, into what they like. And obviously, the way they behave with other people, what's important to them. And sooner or later, we will also look at their wardrobe and how they can dress for themselves and for all of those other things that were going on in that evolutionary wheel. So we have the contemplator, the crusader, the captivator, the caregiver, and the connoisseur. And I always say to people when they first come on Fashion Feng Shui, some of these people will be your friends in the wardrobe and others will not be, because for whatever reason, you don't get on. I think that's life, isn't it? We don't get on with everybody. And there's certain ones of these things that don't play much part in my wardrobe at all. And when I meet the people that have those characteristics, I find it quite difficult because I don't have those characteristics in myself. Or if I do, they're very, very small. And I think that that's life. And as I said to you before, the 5 elements are in all parts of life. So we're not all perfect, that's for sure. But what I want to do with you today is I want to look at how these people and how some of their characteristics of their dress code will help you feel well. So we're looking today, if you like, at that 4th one down, fortify you to attract your intention. So what I would suggest you do today, and obviously you're going to have the recording so you can go back to this time and time, is maybe just think about perhaps something that you want to have or feel now, in the next day or two, in the next week. And then concentrate maybe on that one rather than trying to take it all in. And then in the end, you don't get anything that you can take away with you. You can go back to the recording if you want to look at something else, because it's going to be there for a while, I guess. But I think if you can look at maybe one thing that you want to do, it might be of more value. But, you know, that's up to you. Oops. So where focus goes, energy flows. That was something my yoga teacher told me last week, and I thought, wow, that's absolutely amazing. One of the things that I didn't say up front, but one of the things that I found so interesting about going down this route is that over the years, my way of dressing has changed. Some of you have known me for, you know, quite a long time. Evelyn definitely has known me for quite a long time. And Suzanne probably, but not when I was slightly different, when I looked more like Suzanne Decavere than I do now. And I think the one big message that I can give you from this, from my point of view, is that this is the only image program that I've ever come across that focused, for me anyway, on how my clothes make me feel rather than how they make me look. So I'll say that again, how they make me feel rather than how they make me look. And certainly in the past, I know I've looked good. Why? Because people have validated that. People have told me. I've looked in the mirror and thought, yeah, you look pretty good. But I've never really felt that good in those clothes. And the other thing that popped into my mind at the time, or at least later in hindsight, was I was wearing these outfits when I was in a group of people like yourselves, you know, my peers, where I had to look, in my mind, I had to look like an image professional. That's what I was going to be judged on. I have to look like an image professional because that's what I do, rather than I want to feel like an image professional, which is a completely different thing. And certainly when Suzanne and I did a presentation a few years back now, I don't think you'll ever see two people who look so different standing at the front of the class. I mean, we were like the extreme poles, and yet we both are image professionals. We both did a good job. We both got, you know, whatever it was we needed from that session. We both imparted our own messages. And so it took me a long time to realize that actually as an image professional, I could dress the way that I wanted, which is certainly not at all my Vivienne Westwood, look at me, clashing colors, you know, completely bonkers outfits really, that I knew that I could wear, but actually didn't really suit me, who I was at my core, and certainly would only be worn, as I said, when I was on a stage, and they wouldn't be worn when I was down the supermarket or going for a coffee with a friend. Suzanne's different because she dresses like that all the time. It's who she is. For me, it was playing a role. And that was the biggest thing that I learned from this, that I actually am okay as I am. And that means that I do better when I am what I am, as long as I know how to dress for the feeling that I want on that day. Some of you will be more intuitive about this than others. Some of you will just pick up some clothes in the morning. So what I would ask you to do, if you are that kind of person, is to take on board what I'm saying and then go back and analyze, why did I choose those clothes? And you'll find, I'm pretty sure, that this will come into it somewhere. So some of you, it's about being more mindful and going, right, this is what I want to feel, so I'm going to choose this. For others, you're choosing it anyway, and then you'll be looking back and going, that's why I chose that, because I wanted to feel da-di-da-di-da. We're sensing or intuitive. Usually we're one or the other, and this will work for both. So let's have a look then where focus goes, energy flows. So I just want to move. I wonder if I could just move this little, strip out the way. I don't know whether I can. Okay, I'm going back too far. So water then, the contemplator. So I want to talk about two different things here with all of these elements. We can either deplete our energy or we can renew our energy. And often we can either have too much of something or too little of something. And that's how it shows up in different things. So the first thing I want to talk about is the organs in relation to how well we feel and their element. So with water, if we are either depleted or we have too much water, we can actually feel fearful. And many people who are contemplators, certainly when this pandemic first arose, would have been feeling quite vulnerable about and quite fearful about what was going to happen. If we can get rid of that fear, the opposite end of it is wisdom. So wisdom and the intention of just being calm is where water can help us. So it may be, if you feel that you are an overthinker, you think all the time, it may be for now you need to drop some of the water. For those of us who want to be a little bit more calm or get more wisdom, then we need to probably increase it slightly. And I will show you all the choices that you have in a minute. So the organs that we look at for water tend to be the watery ones. So they are usually the bladder and the kidneys and those little adrenal glands that sit on top of your kidneys. And they really are the ones where, stress and fear are held. So if they're not healthy, that's what happens to us. So think about, as I said to you, one thing. Do you feel fearful? And maybe you need to drop some of the water clothing. Or do you want to get some more wisdom? Do you want to just be calm? The other thing that water will help you with as well is creativity. So if any of you feel, right, now is the time for me to write a book, draw a painting, do something different with my image consultancy business, create something new, then water will be your friend. With wood, as I said to you before, wood is active. So wood is about doing. I know about this one because I have a lot of wood, and my frustration and anger is what comes out if I don't really like the situation that I'm in. I get very frustrated with people. I say things that I later regret. Mouth before brain, all of that kind of thing. This is me. So this is what happened to me, I guess, to a certain extent, when the pandemic suddenly made me a prisoner in my own home, that I became very frustrated and angry at the government, that they weren't doing things properly and all of those kind of things. So I definitely had to drop some of the clothes that I would normally wear because my main essence is wood. But wood, in a positive way, can motivate you. It is the active type of element. So if you feel that you need to do something, then wood is your friend. Wood tends to be, out of all of the elements, the most healthy and the most youthful. So if there are any of you on this call, and I doubt that there are, but if there are any of you that think, I need to lose weight, I need to, look at my diet, I need to be more healthy, I need to kind of swap alcohol for water. Or is it the other way around? I'm not sure. Or you've had enough of creating things in your head. Now you need to get on and do something. Then this is where wood will help you. To put a little bit of wood into your everyday wardrobe will help you. Oh, so we've got a lot of thumbs up there. Was that more wine or more water? I'm not sure, but the more wine sounds good to me. But it's a really good internal coach. Wood is a really good internal coach. People with a lot of wood are very good at seeing the best in other people, you know, making them the best that they can be. And so you can do it for yourself if you want to. Fire. So fire then is really about passion and excitement. But actually what can happen if you have either too little or too much is that you go into hyper mode, like that. Everything is panic, 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 panic. Or you go the opposite to love, which is hate. And so neither are great places to be. So again, if you recognize that maybe you are the kind of person that does light up a room, that likes lots of attention, and suddenly, you know, you were stuck in a room and nobody can see you and you've got no connection, you may have really gone into panic mode or just hated everything about the situation. So if you want to start to get enjoyment, passion, excitement, even sexiness back into your life, then fire is the one that will help you to do that. Earth. I think probably all of us have needed a little bit of this. Anxiety or overthinking, almost overwhelm, I guess, to a certain extent, is what happens if your earth is depleted. Any of you that are homeschooling, I would imagine that you have got to have been here somewhere. The people I know that have 2 or 3 children at home are literally tearing their hair out most of the time, however much they love their children. It's very stressful, they're very anxious, and they need some earth, they need some nurturing for themselves as well as for them, their children probably as well. When it's in balance, we have equanimity, and as an intention, it's about nurturing. So if any of you are the type of person that says horrible things to yourself in the mirror, if any of you are the type that really self-care doesn't exist because you're always looking after somebody else instead of your own needs, if you feel that you're eating maybe junk food and not looking after yourself and nurturing yourself in that way, then maybe earth is something that you need. If you want to feel grounded, if you just want to feel like everything will be okay because your foundations are in place, then earth is where we need to go. And then the last one is metal. We call it the connoisseur, but it's also the perfectionist. We used to call it the perfectionist, and perfectionists didn't like it. But it is about this massive, sometimes, weight that the connoisseurs carry about everything being just so and everything being organized. And when perhaps you're sharing with somebody else who doesn't maybe fit into that category, it can be really difficult when things are messy and it's getting chaotic, and you don't like it. I have a friend who is an image consultant, who is a very high earner, who travels the world. Some of you, I'm sure, will know who I'm talking about. The first thing that she did is she went for a run, sat on a bench and cried her eyes out because her metal was depleted. And grief, sorrow, shame, the shame of not being perfect can come to the fore. I'm not saying that these things are wrong. Sometimes we need to get those things out. You know, we need to cry, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But when we are in flow, then metal will refine our lives. It will make sense of it. It will put it into organized priorities. It will give us courage to carry on. And I guess a lot of us have probably Marie Kondoed in the last few weeks. And if we have, this is what we were doing. We were putting some metal into the mix. So just before I go on to the actual things that you can do, are there any questions, or are you all following me so far? I haven't bamboozled any of you.
No, we're all good.
You're all good. Okay, great. That's why I love a captive audience. Right. Okay. So if we go back to Feng Shui, then if you were to learn Feng Shui, all of these elements have a different color, a different shape and a different substance. And if you were to go back to the images that I showed you and the descriptions of those 5 elements, you would see at the top of the first slide in each one, I actually highlighted what that was. In Fashion Feng Shui, we've extended that so that we have a hue, which is the color, we have a pattern or a silhouette, which is the shape, and we have a texture or a fabric, which is the substance. And what I want to make really clear here is that you don't have to do all of them. You can choose the one that best fits you. And many times when I'm teaching Fashion Feng Shui, and even when I wasn't, and I come across other Fashion Feng Shui facilitators, many of them, because I think we're taught colour, usually we're taught colour first, they get fixated on a colour. You do not have to get fixated on a colour here. It can be smaller than that. It can be a texture. It can be a pattern. It does not have to be a color. I just want to make that really clear. Some people, like me, don't even like color. Okay, I've said it now. So color is the last thing I ever look at because I'm just not interested. So color really for me is out. Took me a long time to realize that as well. So water. So if you want to create, if you want to be, if you want to have some calm, if you want to be wise, if you want to be a bit more spiritual or a bit more sensitive, this is what water can do for you. So you can choose to wear in your normal everyday outfit, and it doesn't matter whether it's underwear, outerwear, accessories, shoes, lipstick, glasses, it doesn't matter. The thing is that you are being mindful about choosing it. That's what counts. So it doesn't have to be top to toe black. It just has to be, today I'm putting on something black or dark toned or asymmetrical or fluid or sheer because I want some water. So these are your choices, any dark colors at all. So that can be forest green, burgundy, chocolate brown, it doesn't matter. The patterns need to be asymmetrical, or the actual design needs to be asymmetrical. So I know, Suzanne, I'm pretty sure that you've got some skirts or trousers where maybe the crossover at the front of the waistband isn't a straight up and down zip, it's going across your body. If you had a skirt or a dress with an asymmetrical hem, or if you have a dress with one shoulder, if you have a pattern like the one we've got here that's paisley, that is not symmetrical. You know, it's random, it's abstract. Those are the kind of things that you can look for to add some water into your wardrobe. Even if it's something, I can't see what Emma's got on, but I'm just thinking maybe I can see part of a dark colour under your lighter top, but not the other half. That will do. That's asymmetry to me. Even, you know, something like, what can I say, a diagonal crossing, you know, on a jacket or something like that, that would do. Anything fluid or sheer or flowy. So fluid could mean that it has a flow to it. Sheer means that it could be floaty as well. So flowy or floaty. Obviously sheer fabric, chiffon, things that are very lightweight. Fluid could be anything from a waterfall cardigan, for instance, even though that's thicker, to a dress or a skirt that kind of moves along with you. So it's not going to be straight, it's not going to be structured. So black, dark tones, any asymmetry, anything that's fluid, flowy, sheer. And the other thing that you could put into there with the fluid or sheer is anything that's reflective. So if you've got any kind of crystal earrings or any earrings that kind of reflect the light, for instance, or necklaces or anything like that, that would also fit into this. Clear? Good. In terms of wood then, as I said to you, we're looking at mid-tones here. So anything that's blue or green. These will include the turquoises, the lime greens, the cornflower blues, the sky blues, leaf green, pea green, anything along those lines. The shape is a straight line. So it could be that the shape of the garment is very straight. So a straight leg trouser, pant, a straight skirt, a straight tunic top. It could be that the pattern is a column. So we're thinking about stripes here. Things like corduroy, because you know it's in the actual weave of the fabric, you've got a line, an imagined line. Needle cord would be the same. Or it can be plant-based, and that really gives you a myriad of things to choose from. So cotton, obviously, things like linen, you've got hemp now, and bamboo, and denim, of course. Anything that's denim goes into this, regardless of the color of it. So if you put a pair of jeans on, you're actually putting some wood onto your body, regardless of the color. Remember, color isn't always that important. It's choosing one of the characteristics that goes with this particular energetic element, because clothes have energy, and when you put them on, it will change the energy of you and that around you. And I think if any of you go into your wardrobes, you'll know that the wardrobes of your clients, they do have an energy. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so good, especially if you're seeing clients' wardrobes where it's packed full and you can't see anything, or things thrown to the bottom and all that kind of thing. But certainly, as being slightly more intuitive myself these days, I do know that when I open the wardrobe, some clothes are kind of screaming, I want to be coming out today, whereas others probably aren't. And I think that that's very true, because there's an energy there. So fire then. So this is really about, and I go to fire quite a lot, because I want to have some enjoyment in my life. Sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I end up doing work that I don't really want to do, because I'm a nice person and I say yes. And so I want to make it enjoyable. I want to make it fun, whatever that means. You know, fun is very different, isn't it, for different people. You know, some people it's a wild party or a roller coaster ride. That's not really my kind of fun. But it has to be enjoyable. I have to be enthusiastic about it. I want to be curious about things, and that's where the fire comes in. So you will never, ever, ever see me without my red lipstick on. So that's my fire that is continually there. Most of the time when I wear glasses, not today because these are reading glasses, you will notice that my glasses are purple, again, because that fits into this. It's fire. So I've always got fire on my face, even if I don't have it on my body. As I say, I don't like colour per se, so I'm using the colour in a slightly different way. I'm putting it on my face. And that's, Suzanne, what I was thinking about you and your hair. So inadvertently, whether you like it or not, you've introduced more fun into your life, maybe with a lockdown over. I don't know. You need to think about that. Let me know. As soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, she's going to have some fun now. So reds, purples, oranges, really any very bright colour, but generally we're talking about the colours of flames. Bright yellow. These are bold colours that are going to be seen. We're looking at a shape that is pointed, so a V-neck or a diamond pattern on a sweater or something like that. Pointy shoes, so the stiletto shoe with a high heel is fire personified, especially if it was in red. That would be it. And often I do have red shoes. I have red or bright pink shoes just to add a bit of pizzazz to my outfit. You know, I don't want to be boring all the way down. So I do like coloured shoes to add, again, some fire into the mix. Also, and this is the really important thing, life and light base. So what does that mean? Anything that looks like life. So it doesn't have to be real, but it can be suede, leather, furs, feather. Doesn't have to be real. That is fire. Wool. Or it can be a pattern. So zebra print, animal prints, anything like that will be fire, because it's adding some fun into the wardrobe. Or it can be light-based, and what that means is that it reflects light in terms of the fact that it's shiny. So silks and satins would come into there. Sequins, of course, would definitely be there. So, you know, because you can't miss those kind of things. They're either look at me or almost feel me. You know, there's a sexiness to it somewhere along the line. Earth. Now, this is very different, isn't it? So these are, you know, your typical, I guess, slightly autumnal colours, if you like. You could call them a bit more boring. I would call them neutrals, perhaps, the lighter or, you know, more warm neutrals to a certain extent. So we're looking at yellow, brown, mustard, tan, you know, those traditional kind of colours that don't really come into fashion. They don't really go out of fashion. You know, a trench coat, for instance, is a typical earth garment. We might update it now and again, but generally it is a trench coat. It has been the same colour for centuries, and it's not likely to change really anytime soon. The camel coat, another one that fits into this very, very, you know, it doesn't really change. People wear them for years and years and years. So yellows, browns, squares. So tartan, checks. The shape of a Chanel jacket actually would fit into this as well, because it is boxy. So this isn't shaped in any way, shape or form. So a boxy little skirt, a boxy little jacket. So Suzanne, sorry, I know I keep picking on you, but I know your wardrobe better than anybody else's here. So, but you have some square jackets that I know you've done things to. That would the shape of it would fit into this, and it's very textured. So again, the Chanel jacket, if you felt it, it's very nubby actually, even though it's an expensive garment. So anything napped or nubby, comforting, I would say. So you're kind of enveloping yourself in a comfort blanket. That's what I feel earth should be doing for us. And then the last one is metal. And this is all about, you know, refinement and you know, being organized and having some kind of detailed plan almost. Metal is very good at finishing things. So again, as I said to you before, if you've got a lot of things on the go and you think, for heaven's sake, I really need to get on with one of these and finish it, then you maybe, you know, you need a bit more metal. Or if your house is in a mess, then maybe you need a bit more metal. Or even if your emails are in a mess, maybe you need a bit more metal to sort all that out as well. Housekeeping we can do on a computer as well as in the home, can't we? So any light tones, whites, pastels, any metals. So again, this really lends itself very well to jewelry because any kind of metal will do. The shape is a round shape, so I've always got a bit of metal on as well because all my glasses are round, so I've got a little bit of metal there. It's also scrolls, bows, and anything on a jacket that's got a kind of rounded shape. So the collar, if it's rounded rather than pointed, if it's a hemline on a jacket that's rounded instead of pointed, it's softer, that would fit into this. The whole outfit can be refined. So there's no big patterns here. You know, a polka dot is probably the furthest that a metal would want to go with their clothing. It's very understated. The shimmering is just that, it's a shimmer. It's not a loud shine. That would be fire. This is subtle. Everything about metal is subtle. And it just has, the whole feel of metal is kind of polished, quality, classy, chic, I would say. That's kind of the feel of it. So just to finish off then, I just thought I'd share some very bad pictures because, as you know, I hate social media with a passion. But when lockdown first started, as you know, I said to you earlier, I felt very frustrated and very angry. I really did. And I thought, I've got to stop this now because wearing my normal wood attire would be really not conducive to anything. All I would be doing is getting more and more frustrated. So instinctively, I went over to that first picture there. As you can see, it's all knits, it's all wool. They are lighter colours on the whole. There's quite a lot of, I mean, I don't do a lot of earth. It doesn't suit me. I don't like it. But I did seem to wear quite a lot of beiges and pale browns, those kind of colours for quite a while. And then I kind of slightly moved to the pastels. And I think part of me was, first of all, I need to be grounded. I need to not lose my head here. I need to feel like I'm safe, that it will be okay, that my parent, I've got a mother and a mother-in-law, both in their 90s, who live miles away, that they're going to be safe. I don't have to worry about them. My husband is over 70. I don't have to worry about him. It will be fine. I can do this. And then we started to get organized, both of us. So I moved into the metal because I thought, right, I've got nothing else to do. I am going to organize everything. So I threw out loads of stuff. I'd already started the process, but I sorted out my laptop. I sorted out the kitchen, things that I don't really do. I started to clean. I'm rubbish at cleaning, by the way. But I started to clean the house and do all of that. And actually, once I'd finished all of that, I felt good. I felt safer somehow, more secure. That's how I felt. And the overwhelm had gone. Then I went to the second picture, and what happened then was, because people were in various stages of lockdown around the world, what I noticed was suddenly all my colleagues are going mad on videos, online, every social media you can possibly think of. I did a lot of that a long time ago. It's not something I ever want to do again. I've done it. I've been there. Thank you. I've got the t-shirt. I really don't feel like I want to be on videos or social media anymore. I just don't want to do it. So I thought, okay, I could go into competitive mode. That's wood. Let me compete with these people. Let me get myself out there. And I thought, you know what? No, I am not going to do that. I am going to ignore the noise. I am going to ignore what everybody else is doing, because I've got to be true to my feelings inside. So I moved over to water. I moved to water for quite a long time. Go with the flow. What will be, will be. I don't want to change anything. I don't want to listen to all this stuff. I don't want to see all this stuff. I'm happy to go on Zoom if it interests me, but I'm really, really no longer interested in what anybody else does. I'm going to do my own thing because that is what's right for me. I'm going to feel this. And so I felt it. And you know what? Within about, I don't know how many weeks, 4 weeks, I reckon, I was in water mode. I suddenly thought, right, I'm drowning now. I'm really drowning. It's not somewhere I want to be going with the flow for too long. Though it does feed my water. Water feeds my wood, sorry. So I started to get back into my normal clothes again. And suddenly, in the last 3 weeks, I have got so much business, I couldn't tell you. I have got business from doing nothing. And I've got the clients I really want. And now I'm off the planet busy again. And I have been wearing my wood, which is do, action, all of that. But now I am going to be moving into slightly go with the flow, because otherwise I'll get into overwhelm. But also I'm going to put more fire into my outfit, because I want to make sure that this over busyness now becomes enjoyable. So I'm going to be putting water and fire, which of course can cause steam if we're not careful, and make sure that I balance it out each day. Because what I really don't want to do is have so much business that actually it becomes a weight. It needs to be exciting, enjoyable, fruitful, all of those things. So I am mindfully choosing what it is I want to wear. But the big lesson for me was that I took time out to feel. What do I want to feel? Not what do I want to do because everybody else is doing it, it's expected of me. I think I've built my whole business on not doing what everybody else does, and it's served me well. So if that's can be something that you can learn from too, please take it, because we're all different. We don't all have to do the same thing, do we? So every time you get dressed, or if you're an intuitive one, maybe you want to do this a little bit later. How am I feeling today? My yoga teacher says, how does it feel to be you today? How does it feel to be you today? And be truthful. So how are you feeling today? What do you want to feel or accomplish? What do you want to feel or accomplish? And then go back to this and have a look. What clothing choices will help me? Remember, you can only choose one, it's fine. Color, pattern, silhouette, texture, fabric. So this will work for a minimal dresser like me. It will also work for a, a completely creative, dramatic dresser like Suzanne, because having spent a couple of days at Suzanne's house, even though her dressing looks, really clashy and creative to us, I know that when Suzanne dresses, she dresses with a kind of feeling in mind. I think that's right, Suzanne? It's not so much about what you want to look like, it's how these things go together on the inside for you. And I've seen Suzanne in a, you know, a cricket jumper. I mean, there's nothing clashy or colourful about that, but it's the other things she puts with it that make it look a bit different to the way we would look. So it really doesn't matter if you are, as I say, I'm probably the most simple dresser on the whole of this webinar. You know, less is more for me, really, truly. I love jumpsuits, that's it, job done. But you can still do it. So colour, pattern, silhouette, texture, fabric, it can be done in a piece of clothing, it can be done in an accessory, it can be done in a shoe, in your glasses, in your earrings, in your hair colour, in your lipstick colour. It can be done in anything. But the thing is, it has to be mindfully chosen. There is a number of different pieces of research. So I know that this isn't bonkers. One of them is about being mindful from a professor called Professor Ellen Langer, and she is a professor, I think, of psychology. Years ago, she wrote a book that said, when we are being mindful, we remain more youthful. So that to me is a good enough excuse for being more mindful about how we get dressed, that we stay younger in our mind straight away because we're being focused on what it is we want. But also there's this lots of research being done about enclothed cognition. I know Imogen Lamport knows a lot about this too. But basically they took, I think it was a group of people and split them into three and gave them white coats to wear. They told the first group they were doctors, they told the second group they were lab assistants, they told the third group they were painters and decorators, and then they gave them some tasks. They all did very differently. The painters and decorators did the worst. The doctors did the best, just because they had different same coat, but because they were told what they were, they went into that mindset. So we know what we wear has energy. It changes the way we perform. It changes the way we think. It changes the way we feel. And when we feel something, to me, anyway, that is the most important thing at all. So I'm going to finish, I think just about on time, with just saying thank you so much for inviting me. Stay safe, be well, stay youthful, of course, and very mindful. I'm always available if you've got any questions, but I hope it just gave you a slightly different take on what we do and how important I think it is to both physical well-being, but also mental well-being as well. Okay, thank you.
How amazing. Sue, thank you so much. That was amazing. As you were explaining so much through the different elements, I was picking things on me that I was wearing at the time. I was looking at, oh, you know, I've got this round collar and a little bit of shimmer in the jacket. I thought, oh yeah, there's my metal.
Well, I think the other thing is, Evelyn, as well, what I forgot to mention, and of course, one of the things that you can do, though it can be pretty tough, you know, because we are what we are. But often for balance, you know, so even when I'm speaking to a group like you, because I don't know all of you, maybe in the, you know, the kind of way that I know some of you, I try when I'm doing this, whether it's on a stage or on a webinar, to have all of them on. So even though I'm more me and dressing in my way, you know, today I've got, I don't know whether you can see, I've got a watch with a tan strap. Thank you, Briar. Briar chose this for me. That's my earth today, because I don't have any really in me. So I'll always have a little bit on. And because I like the face of it, it's got different colours, it's a bit unusual. I don't mind wearing that at all. But I wouldn't be wearing a kind of brown jumpsuit or anything like that, because that would just be hideous. So it's about bringing in little bits and pieces so that you can be as balanced as you like to be, but without moving out of who you are, if that makes sense.
That's all about being so intentional when you get,
so.
I just love that idea of just thinking, you know, what you want to achieve, and then looking at the different elements that you might need to help you or support you to get that. I love that intentional dressing and getting clothes to have you feel great, more so than looking. We're all going to look great anyway, because we've intentionally bought things that we love. And it's about, again, back to that feeling, you know. Yeah, it's been what an incredible session. Thank you.
Good.
Hands up for those that really got something amazing out of that. I can definitely put my hand up for that one. That's
Thank
beautiful,
you.
Sue. Thank you.
I'll just say, Sue, do you think that's why when you've got somebody that's a mood dresser like me, I'm so not good at doing my outfit the night before?
Me neither.
Sometimes I am, but I can do my outfit the night before and I can put something together amazing, and then I can go to get dressed and go,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. But I'll tell you now, I don't have much colour in my wardrobe, as you know. I mean, you both, Evelyn and Suzanne, I've stayed with you, so you know that. But I was today going to wear a red dress. It's the only dress I've got with colour because I wanted this to be fun. And I looked at it in sheer horror. I thought, no, I can't do that today. So I put it back and I put this on, which wasn't even in my radar yesterday. Wasn't even in my radar. And I thought, how interesting, you know. So that's why I hate packing for trips abroad. You know, it's not because I'm in excess baggage, but I just think, well, what if I haven't got my mood outfit in here? You know, so many times I've presented at AICI or whatever it is, and I'm thinking, oh, I wish that I brought that outfit that's kind of sitting in my wardrobe right now. It would make me feel better. So there is that, you know, slight problem. But I always try and make sure that I've got something of every element with me, just so that I can feel a little bit more grounded, I guess, before I start to launch myself. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Suzanne. But as I said, as a little bit of homework for you, I would really love you to, once you've dressed yourself, go back and go, okay, so what elements have I actually got on? And is there a predominance of one of them? You know, is it all red, or is it all squares, or is there a lot of metal, or whatever it is in there? And just because even when you do put your things together, there is a lot of creative and dramatic in there, but there's a lot of metal to me as well. There's a lot of your own rules that go on, how they all measure up and match up in your way, I think. So it's intuitive, but there's also a system there, I think. But I'd love you to do it and just think, right, definitely got predominance of whatever it is today. Yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you for being such a lovely audience as well. And I really do hope you get something from it. And as I said, if you want me, you know where I am. And I'm very happy to answer any questions and all of that.